5 months into her pregnancy, Claire saw a post on social media. It was from a former colleague of Daniel's, someone she had met at a company holiday party years ago. A woman named Jessica who worked in project management. The post showed a photo of Daniel at an upscale restaurant, the kind with mood lighting and small plates that cost $50. He was smiling, his arm around a beautiful woman Claire didn't recognize. Both of them were dressed formally. Daniel wore a suit Claire had never seen. The woman wore a red dress that probably cost more than Claire's monthly rent. The caption read, "So happy for these two lovebirds. Can't wait for the big day." Claire's hand shook as she clicked on the woman's profile. Her name was Vanessa Cole. 28 years old, according to her bio. She worked in marketing for a luxury fashion brand. Her feed was a carefully curated collection of aspirational lifestyle content. Travel destinations with impossibly blue water. Brunch plates arranged like art. Designer handbags. Inspirational quotes over sunset backgrounds. The kind of feed that made you feel like you were looking through a window into a better, more beautiful world. Claire scrolled through the photos, each one feeling like a small cut. There was Vanessa at a charity gala, Daniel beside her in a tuxedo. Vanessa at a wine tasting in Napa Valley. Vanessa holding up her left hand, and there, unmistakable on her ring finger, was a diamond engagement ring. The photo had been posted 3 weeks ago. The comments were filled with congratulations, heart emojis, excited messages from friends. Claire felt dizzy. She sat down on her couch, phone trembling in her hand. How long had this been going on? Had Daniel been seeing her before the divorce? Was this why he left? The questions multiplied, branching out like cracks in glass, but the answers didn't come. Claire clicked on another photo. This one showed Vanessa and Daniel on a beach somewhere tropical. The caption read, "He finally found someone who understands him." Claire felt that like a punch to the stomach. Someone who understands him. As if Claire hadn't understood. As if 7 years of understanding, supporting, believing hadn't counted. As if she had somehow failed him, rather than the other way around. Claire closed the app and sat in silence, one hand on her belly, feeling the baby move. Strong kicks now, visible from the outside. She didn't know what to do with the information. She didn't know if it even mattered. Daniel had already left. He had already filed for divorce. Knowing that he had moved on didn't change her reality. But it hurt. It hurt in a way that was hard to name, a deep ache that settled in her chest and wouldn't leave. It wasn't jealousy, exactly. It was the confirmation of what she had feared, that she had been replaceable. That Daniel hadn't needed time to heal or process. He had simply found someone else. Someone younger, more glamorous, more suited to the life he now wanted to live. And Claire, pregnant and exhausted and alone, was left to pick up the pieces of the life they had built together. Her name was Vanessa Cole, 28 years old, sharp, confident, and beautiful in the way magazines celebrate. Tall and slender, with the kind of bone structure that photographed well. She had a degree in communications from a prestigious university, a growing career, and a life that looked perfect from the outside. Her apartment was in a trendy neighborhood, decorated with mid-century modern furniture and plants that somehow stayed alive despite her travel schedule. She had a circle of successful friends, a passport full of stamps, and aspirations that reached beyond her current position. She was ambitious in the way that millennials are taught to be. She wanted success. She wanted impact. She wanted a life that made her old college classmates jealous. She worked in marketing for a luxury brand, managing social media campaigns and influencer partnerships. It was the kind of job that sounded glamorous but often meant 16-hour days and constant pressure to deliver results. But Vanessa was good at it. She understood trends. She knew how to tell stories that resonated. She knew how to turn products into aspirations. She met Daniel at a corporate event 9 months ago. One of those networking affairs held in a hotel ballroom with too loud music and catered appetizers. Daniel was the keynote speaker, giving a talk on sustainable architecture and the future of urban design. Vanessa was there handling the event's social media coverage, posting photos and quotes in real time, engaging with online audiences. After his speech, which had been genuinely interesting, she approached him to ask for a quote. She introduced herself, held out her phone to record his response, and was struck immediately by how present he seemed. He didn't give her a generic corporate answer. He actually engaged with her question, asked her what she thought about the topic, listened when she answered. They ended up talking for 2 hours, long after the event had ended and the catering staff was cleaning up. He was charming, successful, and attentive in a way that made her feel seen. Not in the shallow way men sometimes make women feel seen, but genuinely. He asked about her work, her ambitions, her ideas. He made her laugh. He challenged her thinking. He treated her like an equal, not like a pretty face or a networking opportunity. When Daniel told her he was divorced, Vanessa had no reason to doubt him. He spoke about his ex-wife briefly, sadly, like someone who had been through something difficult but had come out the other side. He told her the marriage had been over for years before it officially ended. That they had wanted different things. That his ex had left him for someone else. That the divorce had been finalized months ago. That he was ready, finally, to build something real with someone who shared his vision for the future. Vanessa believed him because she wanted to. Because he seemed honest. Because the story made sense. Because she had seen men lie before and this didn't feel like lying. She admired his success, his vision, his certainty. He took her to nice restaurants, the kind with Michelin stars and wine lists thicker than novels. He introduced her to influential people, architects and developers and city planners. He made her feel like she was part of something bigger, like together they could build an extraordinary life. She didn't ask hard questions about his past because the answers he gave seemed complete. She didn't press for details about his divorce because it seemed painful for him to discuss and she didn't want to hurt him. She didn't investigate his claims because she trusted him. And why wouldn't she? He had given her no reason not to. Daniel pursued Vanessa with the same intensity he brought to his projects. He texted her every morning. He planned thoughtful dates. He remembered small details she mentioned in passing. He sent flowers to her office. He showed up at her apartment with takeout when she was working late. He told her she was brilliant, beautiful, exactly what he had been looking for. He made her feel like the center of his world. And Vanessa, who had dated plenty of men but never felt this level of connection, fell hard. She told her friends he was different. Told her mother she thought this might be it. Told herself not to get ahead of things but couldn't help imagining a future. Within 3 months, she was in love. Within 4 months, they were talking about moving in together. Within 6 months, Daniel proposed. It happened on a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city, the skyline glittering behind them. He got down on one knee, pulled out a ring that must have cost a fortune, and told her she was the best thing that had ever happened to him. That he couldn't imagine his life without her. That he wanted to build a future together. That he wanted to marry her. Vanessa cried. She called her mother from the table. She posted photos online immediately. Her friends were thrilled. Her family was supportive. Everyone told her how lucky she was. And she felt lucky. She felt like all the hard work, all the late nights, all the careful planning had led to this moment. When Daniel suggested a quick wedding, Vanessa didn't hesitate. He said he didn't want to wait. Said life was short and they had already wasted enough time apart. Said he wanted to start their forever as soon as possible. Vanessa thought it was romantic. Thought it showed how committed he was. Her mother suggested they wait, plan something bigger, take their time. But Vanessa didn't want to wait. She wanted to marry Daniel Carter. She wanted to be his wife. She wanted the life he was offering her. The wedding planning consumed her. She spent months choosing every detail. White roses because they were classic. Gold accents because they photographed well. A string quartet because live music felt more elegant than a DJ. The Rosewood Estate because it was the most beautiful venue she had ever seen. A custom-designed dress from a boutique that normally required 6 months' notice but made an exception because of Daniel's connections. She created a Pinterest board. She hired a coordinator. She taste-tested cakes and tried different invitation fonts and debated seating charts. She wanted everything to be perfect. She wanted their day to reflect the life they were building together. A life of beauty, success, intention. She had no idea that the life Daniel presented to her was built on a foundation of lies. She had no idea that the man she was marrying was still legally bound to another woman. She had no idea that while she was planning their wedding, his ex-wife, his actual wife, was pregnant and alone and carrying his child. How could she know? Daniel had been so convincing. So consistent. So present. He never slipped. Never mentioned Claire by name. Never showed guilt or hesitation. He compartmentalized perfectly, keeping his two lives separate, telling himself that what Vanessa didn't know wouldn't hurt her. Telling himself that Claire would move on and disappear. Telling himself that the past would stay buried if he just built the future fast enough. Telling himself that he deserved happiness, and happiness looked like Vanessa Cole in a white dress, not Claire Mitchell with a pregnant belly and memories of who he used to be. Claire found out about the wedding the way most betrayals are discovered now. Through a screen, by accident, in a moment of idle scrolling. It was a Saturday morning in late September. She was 7 months pregnant, uncomfortable in every position, unable to sleep past 6 a.m. because the baby pressed on her bladder. She was sitting on her couch with a cup of herbal tea, scrolling through social media out of boredom. She didn't even follow Jessica anymore, the woman who had posted that first photo of Daniel and Vanessa. But the algorithm, in its infinite and terrible wisdom, decided to show her a post anyway. Suggested content. A photo that might interest her. Jessica's smiling face. And behind her, a screenshot of a wedding invitation. Elegant script. Gold lettering. Vanessa Cole and Daniel Carter request the pleasure of your company as they unite in marriage. The date was listed. 6 days away, Saturday, October 7th. The Rosewood Estate. 6 p.m. Black tie optional. Claire stared at the post for a long time. Her hand shook so badly she almost dropped her phone. Her chest tightened. Her vision blurred. She read the caption. Can't wait to celebrate love this Saturday at the Rosewood Estate. So honored to witness these two start their forever. They are absolutely perfect together. Claire placed one hand on her belly and felt the baby kick, a sharp jab against her ribs as if the child could sense her distress. Her mind raced. 6 days. The wedding was in 6 days. Daniel was getting married. To someone else, while Claire was pregnant with his child. While their divorce wasn't even finalized yet, she grabbed her laptop, hands still shaking, and pulled up the court records. She had access because she was a party to the case. She navigated through the bureaucratic website, clicked through multiple pages, and found their file. The divorce petition had been filed, but it hadn't been finalized. There was still a waiting period. Paperwork that needed to be submitted. A final hearing that hadn't been scheduled. Legally, technically, Daniel Carter was still married to Claire Mitchell. Which meant his wedding to Vanessa Cole wasn't just a betrayal. It was fraud. Claire sat back, staring at the screen, her mind struggling to process this information. He knew. He had to know. The lawyers would have told him. The timeline would have been clear. But he was going ahead with the wedding anyway. Planning to commit bigamy. Planning to stand in front of 200 people and make vows he couldn't legally make. Planning to let Vanessa believe she was becoming his wife when she wasn't. Claire's first instinct was to call him, to demand an explanation. To scream. To make him acknowledge what he was doing. But what would that accomplish? He had already made his choice. He had already moved on. He had already decided she didn't matter. Calling him would give him the opportunity to manipulate her, to gaslight her, to tell her she was being dramatic. And Claire was done giving Daniel opportunities. But then something shifted inside her. It wasn't anger, exactly, though anger was there. It wasn't revenge, though the desire for justice was real. It was clarity, a sudden, piercing understanding that this wasn't just about her anymore. This was about their child. This was about the truth. This was about refusing to be erased. Daniel wanted to pretend she didn't exist. Wanted to pretend their marriage had never happened. Wanted to start fresh with a beautiful young woman and a manufactured past. But Claire existed. Their baby existed. And truth, once it exists, doesn't disappear just because someone wants it to. Claire spent the next 3 days in a fog. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't eat. She felt the baby move constantly, as if the child was restless too, sensing the chaos in Claire's body. Her blood pressure spiked. Her doctor called, concerned about the readings from her home monitor, and Claire lied, said she was fine, just stressed about work. Her mother, still in Phoenix, called every day, sensing something was wrong. Claire didn't tell her. How could she explain? Her best friend Sarah came over on Wednesday evening, took one look at Claire's face, and knew something had happened. What's wrong? Sarah demanded, settling onto the couch beside her. Tell me. Claire showed her the post. Showed her the wedding invitation. Showed her the court records proving they were still legally married. Sarah's face went through a series of expressions. Shock. Rage. Disbelief. He's getting married? While you're pregnant with his baby? While you're still married? Apparently. That's illegal. That's fraud. You can stop the wedding. You can call the venue. You can call a lawyer. I know, Claire said quietly. So what are you going to do? Claire didn't answer immediately. She sat there, one hand on her belly, thinking. Finally, she said, I'm going to the wedding. Sarah stared at her. You're what? I'm going to the wedding. I'm going to stand there and let him see me. Let everyone see me. Let the truth be in that room. Claire, that's crazy. Think about your blood pressure. Think about the baby. You can't put yourself through that. I have to, Claire said, and her voice was steady now, certain. He wants to erase me, Sarah. He wants to pretend I never existed. He wants to rewrite our history, and I won't let him. Our baby deserves better than a father who lies. And I deserve better than being forgotten. Sarah tried to talk her out of it. Listed all the reasons it was a bad idea. The stress. The confrontation. The risk. The fact that revenge never makes anyone feel better. But Claire just shook her head. This isn't revenge, she said. This is me refusing to be invisible. This is me standing up and saying, you don't get to rewrite my story. Sarah realized Claire had made up her mind. Okay, she said finally. Okay. But I'm coming with you. No. Yes. You're not doing this alone. I'll wait in the car. I'll be there if you need me. But you're not doing this alone. Claire started to argue, then stopped. The truth was, she was terrified. The idea of walking into that room, of facing Daniel and Vanessa and 200 strangers, made her want to vomit. Having Sarah there, even just in the parking lot, felt like a lifeline. Okay, Claire whispered. Okay. Sarah hugged her carefully, mindful of her belly. He doesn't deserve you, she said. He never did. On the day of the wedding, Claire woke up early. She hadn't slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she imagined walking into that room. Imagined the stares, the whispers. The moment Daniel would see her, she showered, standing under the hot water until it ran cold, trying to calm her racing heart. She dried her hair but left it down, simple, no styling. She put on a simple navy dress, the only formal dress that still fit over her 7-month pregnant belly. It was modest, nothing special, a dress she had worn to a colleague's wedding years ago. No makeup. She started to put some on, then stopped. She wanted to look exactly like what she was. Pregnant. Exhausted. Real. She stood in front of the mirror for a long time, studying her reflection. She looked tired. Older than 42. There were dark circles under her eyes. Her face was swollen from pregnancy. Her body was heavy, unfamiliar. But there was something else there too. Something harder. A determination that showed in the set of her jaw. She placed both hands on her belly and whispered, I'm doing this for you. So you'll always know your mother didn't hide. So you'll always know that truth matters more than comfort. She took one deep breath, grabbed her purse, and walked out the door. The Rosewood Estate was everything Instagram had promised. A sprawling venue on the outskirts of the city, surrounded by manicured gardens that probably required a full-time staff. Ancient oak trees lined the driveway. A fountain with actual swans sat in the center of a circular drive. The main building was a restored Victorian mansion, all white columns and wraparound porches. Cars lined the driveway, expensive ones, BMWs and Mercedes and even a few Teslas. Clearly, Daniel and Vanessa's guest list skewed wealthy. Sarah parked at the far end of the lot, away from the main entrance. She turned to Claire. You don't have to do this, she said one last time. You can change your mind. We can leave right now and no one will ever know. Claire shook her head. I have to. Okay. I'll be right here. If anything happens, if you need me, call. I don't care if you're in the middle of the ceremony. Call and I'll come get you. Claire nodded. She opened the car door, stepped out, and immediately felt dizzy. The day was warm for October, too warm, and her dress felt tight across her belly. She steadied herself against the car for a moment. You okay? Sarah called. I'm fine. Claire started walking toward the entrance. Each step felt surreal, like she was watching herself from outside her body. Other guests were arriving, climbing out of cars, handing keys to valets. Women in designer dresses. Men in expensive suits. Everyone looked elegant, put together, like they belonged in this world. Claire felt conspicuous in her simple navy dress and flat shoes. But she kept walking. The main hall had marble floors that echoed with every footstep. Crystal chandeliers hung from impossibly high ceilings. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked a rose garden in full bloom. White chairs were arranged in neat rows, probably 200 of them, most already filled. The room smelled like roses and expensive cologne, that particular scent of wealth and occasion. At the front of the room, beneath an arch draped in white fabric and flowers, stood the officiant, a man in formal robes. And beside him, Daniel. Claire's breath caught. He looked different. Or maybe he looked the same and she was seeing him differently. He wore a charcoal gray tuxedo that fit perfectly, probably custom-made. His hair was styled. His face was calm, confident. He looked happy. He looked nothing like the struggling architect who used to fall asleep at their kitchen table, pencil still in hand. This Daniel was polished. successful, someone who belonged in a room like this. And Claire realized, with a sharp stab of pain, that this was who he had always wanted to be. That she had been a placeholder, a support system for the journey, but never the destination. A string quartet played softly in the corner, something classical Claire didn't recognize. Guests chatted quietly, that pre-ceremony murmur of anticipation. Ushers in matching suits guided people to their seats. A photographer moved through the crowd, capturing candid moments. Everything was choreographed, perfect, expensive. Claire arrived 20 minutes into the ceremony. She didn't sneak in. She didn't try to hide. She walked through the front doors, past the entrance hall, and into the main room. The ushers were near the back, seating latecomers. One of them, a young man in his 20s, approached her. "Can I help you find your seat?" he asked. "I don't have a seat," Claire said. Her voice sounded strange to her own ears, too loud and too quiet at the same time. The usher looked confused. "Are you on the guest list?" Before Claire could answer, the ceremony began. Music swelled. Everyone stood, turning toward the back to watch the bridal party enter. Claire stood still in the center aisle as bridesmaids processed past her in gold dresses, carrying bouquets of white roses. The usher stepped back, uncertain what to do. And then Vanessa appeared. She was radiant. There was no other word for it. Her dress was stunning, custom designed, probably cost more than Claire's car. Her hair and makeup were flawless. She carried a cascade of white orchids. She was smiling, that huge, genuine smile of someone who believes this is the happiest day of her life. The photographer snapped photos as she walked. Claire stood there, 7 months pregnant, in the center aisle, and watched Daniel's new bride walk toward him. And then, slowly, the room began to notice her. The moment didn't happen all at once. It rippled outward. The first people to see her were in the back rows. Heads turned. A woman gasped. The person next to her followed her gaze. Then the row in front of them. Then more. Whispers started, soft at first, then louder. People nudged their companions. Pointed discreetly. The murmuring grew. Someone said, "Who is that?" Someone else said, "Is she supposed to be here?" The energy in the room shifted, like air pressure dropping before a storm. Vanessa, focused on Daniel, didn't notice at first. She was halfway down the aisle, smiling at her groom. But then she saw Daniel's face change. Saw his smile freeze. Saw his eyes widen. Saw him go pale. She slowed her steps, confused. The music faltered. The quartet, sensing something was wrong, played more quietly, then stopped altogether. Vanessa reached the front and turned to see what everyone was looking at. And she saw Claire. Pregnant. In a navy dress. Standing in the middle of the aisle. One hand on her swollen belly. Vanessa's face went through a series of expressions in rapid succession. Confusion. Recognition from photos she had seen in Daniel's old apartment. Understanding. Shock. Horror. Her bouquet trembled in her hands. Someone in the front row stood up. Then more people. The room filled with gasps, whispers, the sound of shock rippling through 200 guests. The officiant looked from Claire to Daniel to Vanessa, completely at a loss. Claire didn't move. Didn't speak. She just stood there, breathing slowly, trying to keep her composure. She had imagined this moment 1,000 times in the past few days. Had rehearsed what she might say, but now that she was here, in this room, with all these eyes on her, words felt impossible. She didn't need words. Her presence was the statement. The event coordinator, a woman in her 50s with a headset and a clipboard, appeared from a side door. She looked horrified. She waved at security, 2 men in dark suits stationed near the exits. They began moving toward Claire, slowly, uncertain. One of them spoke into his radio. "We have a situation in the main hall." But before they reached her, Daniel stepped down from the altar. The movement was so unexpected that several guests gasped. Vanessa called his name. "Daniel?" Her voice was high, panicked. "Daniel, what are you doing? Who is that?" He didn't answer. Didn't turn around. He just walked toward Claire. His face was unreadable, a careful blank mask, but his hands were shaking. Claire watched him approach. She had wondered what she would feel in this moment. Anger. Satisfaction. Fear. But what she felt was sadness. Profound, overwhelming sadness. For what they had been. For what he had destroyed. For the child who would grow up knowing her father had chosen to walk away. When Daniel reached her, he stopped about 3 feet away. The security guards hesitated, unsure whether to intervene. The room was silent now, everyone holding their breath. You could hear traffic from the highway miles away. You could hear someone's phone vibrating on silent mode. For a long moment, Daniel just looked at her. Really looked at her. Not the way he had looked at her in the last months of their marriage, with irritation or indifference, but the way he used to. Seeing her. And Claire saw the moment everything collapsed inside him. The moment the lie became impossible to maintain. His face crumpled. His shoulders sagged. He reached out his hand.